I remember when my father was dying, and he was laying there, and he kept asking us to play that song over and over and over, you know. I thought I could kind of go nuts at the time, because it was like so much, but every time I hear that, it brings me back to this like sacred time, and it just, I get, you know, chills. And I remember as he was laying there, it was like he was reflecting, you know. He was in this dying mode, and he looked back, and he would smile a little bit, you know, and then he would mumble a few words, and I think he was talking about, you know, some of his past. And you know, you hear about life reviews a lot, and I'm hoping that when I'm there, that's this wonderful world is what I'm thinking about. And I remember, and I told it not just a couple months ago, when my dad was in the Navy, and he had fallen over the ship, and nobody was around, and he was clinging to the end of the ship, and he was dying, basically thought he was going to die. And he had one of those flashes, those life experiences that his whole life went before him. If you've ever heard about that, the life review that happens sometime. And after someone found him, and later he told me about it, and said that his whole life just flashed. It was this panoramic view of his life, and he felt every experience that he'd ever had. And my dad was not like a you know, woo-woo kind of guy, or wasn't, you know, real spiritual or anything, that this was amazing to him, that this would happen. And, you know, the truth is that there's like something built into us, I think, that helps us to look at our life, right? That if we're conscious enough that we have to stop and then look and reflect back about how we're doing in life, and what, you know, the changes that we need to make, and the gratitudes that we have. It's about being able to just look at it all and be able to maybe make a difference after we know. See, I just believe that life is a miracle. I love that video because, you know, it's ordinary, but ordinary is a miracle, and we forget that. Ordinary is a miracle. You're a miracle that you're here. You know, the trees and the babies crying, everything, it's all miracles, and we just forget that. You know, and our situations come and go, right? That, you know, the situations that you have now, they're going to be different tomorrow. They're going to be different in a month or two. And something else will come up, right? Because that's life. We are not the life situation. Eckhart Tolle says that we are the life beneath the life situation. And that life is a miracle. We're incredible miracles, and we go through situations to learn. We go through the stuff in our life. We actually, you know, draw them to us so that we can learn. So whatever situation you're in, it's okay. Whatever is drawn to you is supposed to be drawn to you, so that you can evolve and you can learn. But we need to reflect to be able to do that. Have you ever read a book that it's so good when you're reading it, you know? And I'm thinking about a specific book. I think it was John Grisham, the one that I read, but it was all of this. It was so interesting, and it was so, you know, all detailed. And then when I saw the movie, I was really disappointed. Has that happened to you before? Because you know what it is? It's because it's this edited version, right? It's an edited version of this wonderful book. And here's what I think. I was thinking about this. I think we live edited versions of our life. I believe that. I think that our focus is so limited and narrow on what we see that we don't take the whole scope of our life in. You know, and I thought about that today. So think about, you know, coming here today, just your drive, right? Or if you thought about your morning, or someone said, what happened to you this morning? You know, you might say, okay, I got up in the morning, you know, I brushed my teeth, I had coffee, I drove here, and I'm sitting here. You know, that would be it. But if you really looked at it, if you really looked at your life, and you reflected on it, you could say, I got up. If I look at mine, I got up in the morning. You know, I had this wonderful coffee, the Starbucks coffee that was so good. You know, I drove here in a car that had gas, on a nice car that had gas, right? You know, I got here and I had hugs. You know, and people talked to me and they loved me, and you know, I'm alive. I mean, this whole thing is so bigger than we think. Right? So this is our narrow focus. And even when we just focus on what happened, we're focusing on the negative things that happen. Right? Oh, wow, I should have got here earlier. I should have done this. And the truth is that our life is so big. We have a huge, wonderful miracle of a life, and we're so small. We live it so small. We live it so focused and on just what we think we can see. See, our lives, we make them limited, and they aren't. we make them limited. And what reflecting does, and rejoicing, we're talking about rejoicing and reflecting, is to let us look at it and to grow from that. All traditions, all traditions teach about reflection. And there's a specific one that we've talked about here before, and we actually did a class on it, and it's called Nikon. And if you remember, you guys came together, many of you, and we talked about that. And it's this Japanese art of reflection. And it's to be able to look at everything in our life and to ask ourselves these questions. And the questions that we asked ourselves is, what have I received today? What have I received? And I'll tell you, I remember doing it. We've had lists and lists and lists. If you take everything from the cup of coffee to the cup, you can't even write what you've received today. And then we ask, what have I given back? What have I given life back? And then we ask, what troubles or difficulties have I caused? Which is important to look at it all. When you go to bed at night, if you do a scan and you look at the gratitudes of your life and you look at every interaction, every encounter that you have, you see, your life in balance. You see it there. It's a practice of looking at our lives that we have edited. It's looking at, and I'm thinking, just even about common ground. When you leave here, someone could ask you, what'd you do today? I came to church, sat down, heard a message, and left. But did you experience common ground? You know what I'm saying? There's a difference between just seeing it and being here and being able to experience your life. Did you experience the music? Did you experience the video? Did you experience the camaraderie? And that's the difference. When we look back at our life and when we look back at when we are ready to go, are we going to say we really experienced life deeply, that we lived deeply and broadly, or did we have a narrow focus and just go through life in this shallow way? And so that's the opportunity we have now while we're above ground, so to speak, is to be able to live it that way, to be able to live deeply and broadly and to see each other, to see all of one another, to be with your life. When you drove here, do you remember driving? Because sometimes we don't. We get places and we don't remember even driving. And I'm guilty of that. I sometimes I'm rehearsing a darn talk, and I'm not present with even what I'm doing. So I get someplace. I remember as a kid, we used to take vacations, and my dad had to get there, and we all, he wouldn't want to stop to go to the bathroom. It was like, we stop, Dad, no, we got to get there, and what is that we want to get to the next place? And so as we look at our life, we're saying, wow, we have missed our life. We've missed our life. And that's kind of what I'm trying to say here is that we don't want to do that. We want to start living presently, see each other, laugh and be with life the way it is. And it's not all easy, and I'm even talking about experiencing the whole of life, right? Not trying to pretend that the unhappy doesn't exist. I'm saying, let that come too, because we're talking about holy and whole. Well, a whole life is all of it. It's the sadness, right? And it's the happiness. It's all of it. And it's okay. It's okay to experience that. It wouldn't make sense for us just to have a life on high all the time. We couldn't do it. That's not what this world's about. It's about all of it and loving it all. Now, maybe not even loving it all, right? Accepting it all. And then loving parts of it, So when we look at our life, we say, who are we? Who are we today? And what can I do? To shift if I need to. And I think we're all of it. I think some days I go to bed at night and I go, yeah, it was a good day. It was a good day. I felt like I gave, I felt like I received, and I look at it all. And then there's days I'm going, oh my God, I need to shift. There's something there that I need to do differently. And that's part of this human existence, is to be able to reflect and to look at it. We have to look at where we've hurt others. We have to look at where we haven't been gentle with ourselves. And the truth is that when we reflect and we look back at our life and look at what, happened daily, hopefully, or even hourly sometimes, we get a broader perspective. And I think that that's one thing about awakening a little more, is that your vision becomes bigger. Your whole perspective. In Buddhism, they say you make a bigger container for yourself so that you can hold more. You hold more. You see things differently. So you don't have such a limited view of what someone did to you. You have an open view of being able to understand it better. You understand each other. You open yourself to experiencing more. So as I reflected on the messages that we did for 2013, this is the last talk, And I looked at kind of all of them and what our major themes were. And it's really interesting because what they are is the principles that we were actually even taught in ministerial school, but they are the principles of the universe. And what they're for all of us to reflect on, that there is only one power and one presence in the universe. There's only one power, and that power is connected to you. And that's a power of good, the power of miracles, and the power of God. And every talk that we've had has had something like that within it. You have the power within you, and you can connect to it through conscious contact with God, through prayer. And what prayer is that conscious contact. It's being able to take the energy of something so great and be able to put it and live with it and put it out there and be that in the world. And we do that through prayer and through thoughts and through emotions. And then we learn that thoughts, just thoughts and emotions, are not just thoughts and emotions. Those are prayer. Those are things. So what we think and what we experience, our emotions, are important to what we create in our life. We are powerful creators. Wow, that every time I think about that, it's huge to me. You create. We say it for years. We create our life. We create our life. But that's big. Every thought, every emotion that you have, you create the situations, you create the surroundings in your life, your friends, your family, all of it. You create how you see it. You create the situations, and that's huge. And then probably the most important thing is you hear a million things. You come here, you hear Judy talk, you hear me, you hear the messages and the music. None of it matters unless you live it, right? Unless you put it to action. You move your feet. You live it. You don't just leave and then wait for the next talk on Sunday. But every moment you're thinking about being a better person, a better human being. What can I do? You think about being kinder, more loving. See, that's what this is about. When you go to bed at night, looking at your life, how did you affect other people around you? Your family. See, sometimes we treat other people better than our families. Have you noticed that? I have. And I've been told that. Okay, so I had to say that, It's because, why is that, I remember, and somebody said that to my mom, she was a grocery checker, and oh my gosh, everybody says, oh, your mom's just the nicest person, my dad goes, well, she isn't nice to the family. and it's interesting, though. So, authentically, where are you? Are you, open, authentic, and loving to other people, to your family too? So, there's this whole idea of looking at our life, we're never going to know anything for sure. All we know that life is a mystery and a miracle. We know that life is just a mystery and we're never going to know it all. But what I do know for sure is that when we open our hearts, when we get out of our heads, we have to know things, that's kind of important. But when we get out of our heads and we just drop to our hearts and we just love, that's all we have to know. If you left here today and you just opened your heart a little bit, if something made you, breathe a little bit easier, it helped you love a little bit more, that's all you need. That's all you need to know, is that energy, that one power that's within all of us is love. And the more you access it, the more your life changes, the more that you are open. It doesn't matter what goes on. It doesn't matter how people hurt us. What matters is how you respond to it, right? How you respond, that you take that love and you bring it out to other people. That's what matters in life. So as you reflect, that's my prayer for all of us, is that we know, that our life is a miracle and that we just don't live in this little narrow basement of these possibilities. That we open up. That we open up our life, that we know that we are huge, huge miracles of life, and that we love beyond measure. Thank you.